Welcome. I am Jen Romano, co-chair of UXPA 2025, and I'm joined here today by Anne Yosenverta, the 2025 course chair, and by Luz Delgado. Welcome, Luz.
Welcome. Thank you.
We're excited to talk to you today about what you've been up to, a little bit about your career, and of course, the UXPA conference where you'll be teaching a pre-conference course. So before we jump into that, would love to hear about you and your path. How did you get into UX? How did it all begin, and how did you get to where you are today?
Uh, I actually have a very weird path. I come from the Dominican Republic where I did studies on graphic design. I came to Paris because I wanted to work on animation. My dream was to work for Pixar, so nothing to do about UX design. But at the end of the day, when I was studying animation, I make internship where I was working on the web world,
Hmm.
doing websites and stuff, and it just felt right for me. And I said, I want to keep doing my master's in that area. So I did a master's in digital strategy, and the specialty was UX and digital web design art direction. I don't know how to translate that, but it was mostly about UX.
Oh,
And for me, it was just something that make a lot of sense. So I did that master degree for 2 years, and I became a freelancer as UX designer. But I love to do different things. So I had some clients where I work as an UX, some clients where I work as an UI, and I
mhm.
was doing more web design and more graphic web
Mhm.
design. Some clients, and I was curious about learning more about that job. So I did several workshops, several small how do you say, some small courses about UX, about UX research, design sprint, design thinking. I'm very committed to when I like something, I go to it always. So for 2 or 3 years or even 4 years, I did all the courses that came to France. That every time that there was somebody coming from the US or somewhere else, I will do their master class because I was very interested in growing up as a fellow UX designer. And it's been after that I made a master degree in innovation by design. So it's also about how can you create how the design can help you innovate, how the design can help you uh, put people together to innovate. And and it's been 2 years since I'm a employee. So I'm a consultant in a consulting company, and right now I work as a UX strategist in a company that is called France Info. So it's the news from France. So, and it's public, and it's mostly written news.
Got it. Very interesting. What would you say as a UX strategist? How is that different from like a UX designer or UX researcher? What do you focus on as a UX strategist?
Uh, I do a lot of UX research. That's part of my job every day, but I also work a lot with the product manager to define the strategy of the product.
Mhm.
Uh, so we work as a team, like two people team, where she's gonna be the one deciding the strategy of the product, but I can help her. How can design help that strategy? How can what are the research that we can do to get to know better our target? How can we work better as a team? And how can we create new ways also of working that can help us deliver a better product?
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Okay. It sounds that the research that you're doing is more like what we call the kind of discovery research, trying to kind of build an understanding of the target audience and what problems they are experiencing that the product could
Yeah,
solve.
right now the work I'm doing is more, it's a product-based research. So it's always going to be like we can do discovery, but it's for the product.
Mm-hmm.
But I also do more also how can we understand how people interact with the news, for example, the anxiety. So that's also what I can put into the table that can be different as just a product UX research, because I can also work on more prospective research. But of course, the objective at the end of the day is to serve the product.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Let's shift gears a little bit. There's a lot of people on the job market. You've been around for quite some time. What advice do you have for people who are exploring UX career options right now? What can people do to be better prepared?
I also work a lot as a mentor. Like I've been building a mentorship program for 4 years, and there's a lot of people coming up to me asking me what can is there a spot in this world? And I think that there was a moment in the market that there was a lot of jobs going on, and people having good salaries doing UX. So I think one thing is that don't do that just for the salary. I think it's a job that you need to do because you care about making better experience, and it's a mix of it depends on what you're gonna do, but I think it's a mix of creativity and also wanting to understand things. So I think it's important to understand that, like, if you want to be a good UX designer, of course, it's good to be able to do research. It's good to some people are good to create nice interfaces or stuff like that, or drawings or scenarios. But I think that everything is important, like to understand people, but to have the empathy, but also to have that creativity to imagine new ways to do things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. It's like, why get into this field? What are you excited about? What are you passionate about? Like, don't just do it for the salary, but really think about what it is we're doing here in this field.
It sounds like also kind of like you say that wanting to make the better experiences. Does, in your perspective, how does the ethics play in this making better experiences?
For me, that is absolutely really important, and that's how I start to be interested in inclusion. So when I did my master's in innovation, I spent 6 months in a psychiatrist hospital in an internship working with designers. And I realized that, yeah, sometimes it really matters. Like in a space like that, you can't just think about profit, or there's so many things to think about. And that's how I started to being interested in the inclusion and also vulnerability, how can products can be more welcoming, more caring. And I just realized that as a UX practitioner, I've been working for clients that were only interested in performance
Mm.
and how much clicks they get, how much they sell. And we just start going in some weird thing because at the same time you say to people that as UX designers, we are there to understand people and to make better experience, but at the same time you are confronted to stakeholders that are only interested in performance. And I just realized that we were building products for people that doesn't exist because we make personas, we make assumptions about how people will interact with our products. But do we really take in consideration our real lives that where you can just have a bad day? Something so easy, like I can just have a bad day today and not being able to live that experience the way that you want me to live it because I am a person with emotions, with problems, with probably difficulties, vulnerabilities. Like I can, and I think uh, in the future, maybe now I'm 37, but in 20, 30 years, I'm going to be a senior person having new ways to interact with the world. I have ADHD, for example, and I know that the way I interact with some things are not the same as no matter who. And you can say, yeah, but it's not important. But I think it is. Uh, I work last year with the subject of endometriosis from a research problem about inclusion. And at the beginning, I was like, there's no link between that and digital experience, for example. But it's not true because the day where you're feeling in pain, if you have to pay your bills or make your have buy something, maybe you cannot go out to buy your food and you have to order something or so it's not going to be the same way that you interact with things. So yeah, I think ethics is really important, and that was a change maker in my career to say like, yeah, of course I love this job, but I also want to make this job about something that really takes in consideration those things like ethics, how climate change, like there's so many things to think about. And I don't want to get overwhelmed about those things, but also I don't want to pretend that they don't exist.
Mm-hmm. This seems like a good segue to talk about your course, where you will be talking about inclusion and exclusion. So at our annual conference, User Experience Professionals Association annual conference is June 16th to 19th in Amsterdam. And you have a pre-conference course on June 16th called Designing for Systemic Inclusion, Using Systemic Design to Address Systemic Exclusion. Tell us a bit about this course.
I can tell you all my findings. Like I've been working in this subject about inclusion for more than 2 years. And one of the workshops I've been working on, it's been 2 years since I'm giving a workshop all over France about how can, as a designer, we can transform products and be more aware of different vulnerability spaces in people's world. Like sickness, of course, disability, but also social things like discrimination, also neurodiversity. But at some point, I said, okay, this is fine. As a designer, we can, of course, take those things in the table. But the problem is that we live in a system, and the system is exclusive in every ways. Like, and we as a person, when someone is different, it can be a culture, it can be the color of their skin, it can be so many things. Our nature way of reaction is to be kind of scared or to see that, don't consider the fact that those people can have other needs. So I just felt like we can do things, but it's hard to put your shoes in other people's shoes. And I've been interested in systemic design. How can we reflect and think about things more in a bigger way? So that's why I said, okay, I can keep talking to people about let's be inclusive, but I know that the problem is bigger than me and it's bigger than stakeholders, is bigger than the company. So that's how with my friend Aurélie that is also working, giving this workshop with me, we were thinking about how can we make people think about this bigger picture. And our workshop is going to be about that. Like, we're going to at the beginning make people understand that there's different kinds of inclusion and exclusion, and that we can all be concerned. And if we are not concerned today, maybe we are going to be concerned in the future. For example, there's environment exclusion. So, for example, if you live in a war zone, maybe in the future, living in a space that the air is clean, it's going to be a privilege. And I already lived that. Like, for example, I went on vacation in a country where I was sick all the time because the air was there was so much pollution in the air that I have asthma. I couldn't have a profitable vacation. And it's going to be even more in the future. So we want to give people some perspective about the different kinds of exclusion and how they connect to each other. So, for example, having a financial exclusion is not only someone that it's poor and that lives in the streets. You can also be in that problem because your education is so expensive that you cannot afford it, and you have to ask for prêt. I don't know how you say that, like finance, banking. I forgot the word in English.
So you have to kind of get a loan to
loan,
do
yeah.
Yeah.
And some people can get loans because they have diabetes, for example, and there are risks for the system. Or because they don't have, for example, in France, you can be discriminated because of your name. Because if your name, it's a name from, I don't know, Africa or Arabic country, you have less opportunities to have a job. So our workshop is going to be about explaining those kind of exclusion. And then we're going to make some exercise to understand the system and think about the cause of the exclusion, and understand what are the areas on the system that cause that exclusion.
Mhm.
But it's not only about that. We're gonna also give some context, some how do you say that? Some context, but also numbers, like what are the statistics about those things,
Mhm.
and what are the impacts, and what are the questions that we can ask ourselves as designers. What are the possible changes that we can make, and how can we make changes in an individual way, but also as an organization, or in the maybe the laws, maybe the government. And we're gonna use different kinds of tools. We are creating cards about the systems, the different kind of exclusions, but there's also gonna be tools to project people, and we're gonna be working through all of this process in 3 hours for the people, with cards and tools and conversations.
Nice. Sounds fun.
And what people are going to live with is what can be a desirable future,
Mm.
and what can be the small steps in different parts of the system that can be done about these different cases. And there's going to be like real cases
Mhm.
with
Awesome. Who do you think it's for? So we've got a lot of designers, researchers, all different levels, junior level all the way up to super senior folks. Who do you think this course is for?
I think it can be for everyone, but at the same time, I think maybe if you are too junior, it's going to be too complicated to understand. So I think it's more for people, but at the same time, you can be junior and be someone that are super interested in knowing new things. But if I have to give as something, I think it's more intermediate
Mhm.
to senior level. But I think some people are junior but are so curious and want to have more deep things,
Yeah,
then I think it can work.
cool. Awesome. Well, we're excited for it. We're excited to see you in person in Amsterdam. What are you most looking forward to at UXPA?
I think I want to meet different people because I'm very involved in the UX world in France. So I know a lot of the French people here, but I also want to interact with people from other places in Europe, for example, and other part of the world. And I know UXPA for a long time, and I always wanted to do that, but it was in the US and it was impossible as to go there for that event. So I think it's an opportunity to be able to be part of also that in other kind of people that I wouldn't met here in France.
Sure. Yeah, me too. That's what I'm looking forward to. Meeting you and others, and a lot of international crowd and a lot of Europeans. So should be fun. Should be a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, Luz? Obviously, they can come to the conference and find you there. Where else can people find you?
Right now, I'm doing a lot of things mostly in France.
Well,
So you can find me here. I'm also president of it was a UXPA chapter at the time, but now we are a little independent, but open to keep talking to the UX community. So people can find me on LinkedIn. I'm I'm going to do a webinar for UXPA in May. I have to cancel it. It was last week, but it's going to be probably in May, just before UXPA International. And I'm trying to share the most as I can this world about inclusion and how can we do more ethic design.
Mhm. Awesome.
And I'm always open to just chat with people and talk to them for 15 or 30 minutes, just like that, just because it's nice to meet people.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for chatting with us today, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Okay,
Yeah.
me too.
Awesome.
Take care.